one more networking event turns into an hour of small talk and sales pitches, I swear to God, enough. I may strangle someone. If you're ready to connect with people who mean business, who are growing toward consistent 5-figure months, and who actually do the work, especially if you've ever felt like you don't quite fit in or you've been judged for who you are, this is the room that changed that. That's what Sutton and Lace created with the Flavor Room. Today, I'm joined by Sutton McCraney and Lace Flowers, the powerhouse duo behind the Flavor Room, a space built for entrepreneurs who are tired of surface level networking and ready to connect with people who actually do business. And make sure you stick around to the end because they've got a big announcement about an upcoming event in February. And I'll be asking those questions so you can find out a little bit more detail around some of the stuff behind the Flavor Room and how it came to be. So you don't want to miss this. But first, let's dive in. Sutton, Lace, for everyone hearing about the Flavor Room for the very first time, let's say they've never ever heard of it, which I find hard to believe. What is it and who is it really for?
Leah, thank you so much for having us here. So the Flavor Room is honestly an invite-only space, an ecosystem. That's what we're calling it, because that's what it really is for diverse leaders and entrepreneurs of color. And we decided to create our own table. My experience and Lace's experience of being in spaces, being told that in order to grow your business, you have to network, you have to connect with people. And in those spaces, finding, okay, where's everyone that looks like me? Where are people with similar life experiences than me? And there was always kind of this underlying thing that was unsaid that we're tolerating you, but you don't really belong here. So going through years of that, I said, you know what? I can create my own space and create it better. But it was kind of like those someday ideas that you just put on the shelf, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll later. And Blades and I have been in each other's world for, about 3 years. So that's about as long as I've had this idea.
Mhm.
And it just kind of unfolded in that way where we just happened to be in a networking thing together. And I said to her, hey, I have this idea. Do you know anybody who would be interested in, kind of partnering with that? And she said, well, maybe, but what is it? And then I told her what it was. And she's like, well, I would be interested. And so we just kind of ran with that. And we didn't have, a cute little landing page. We didn't even really know what we were doing, to be honest. We just kind of had this big vision. And in 4 hours, we sold out all of our founding member spots. That was 4 months ago. And right now we have 12 Flavor Room members, spanning across 5 countries, and we are growing each and every week. So we're really excited about that.
That's absolutely incredible. I want to congratulate you on your success. So we're doing jazz hands for Sutton and Lace on their success with the Flavor Room. So how is this really different from the usual networking community spaces entrepreneurs have tried before? The Facebook groups where you get on there and you sit on a Zoom call for about an hour and a half before you get to talk about what you do and and then not really make a true connection with people. I mean, that's how I feel about the groups out there on Facebook.
I'm really glad that you asked that question. Lace, do you want to take it or you want me to take it?
I was just going to say the first part of that is we have a personality. There's nothing boring about the Flavor Room. There's nothing boring about me and Sutton. And the Flavor Room has personality. So you're not going to get the typical kind of NPC kind of pitch style stuff going on with us. Like we are real. We are keeping it real. And we don't do that round robin stuff. So Sutton?
First want to clarify that we're not a networking space. And I think that's what bends a lot of people's minds is because that's what they're expecting. They're expecting that, as Leigh said, you go in, hi, my name is Sally Sue, and I help women lose 50 pounds in 5 days. And that's kind of the expectation. And, you do the ring around the rosy and Zoom, and it's not like that at all. When we say community, we mean it. Ecosystem, networking happens naturally when the foundation is set and you have people in there who are not just in it for themselves. So we don't need to position ourselves as networking. And another piece that makes us different is the fact that we have standards. Whoa, I know. Novelty thought there. We have standards that we actually put in place. It is not a marketing angle that we say, oh, you know, we uphold this and this transparency, integrity. No, we actually mean it. We actually not only live by it, but that is the foundation of the flavor room. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we're invite only. You know, it's not come one, come all, butts and seats. If you have a pulse and a credit card, you come through the door. That's not what it is over here. We have no problem, you know, removing members or, you know, telling people this is not a fit for you. We've already done that. And I think that's a huge piece. And we've noticed that that really resonates with people. They're like, oh, wow. So it's not going to be, you know, Avon and that weird water filter people coming in here. This is actually serious business owners who want to grow, want to collaborate, and want to make money together, that are not afraid that this person can rise above them, right? Want to see everybody shine. So I think that is the huge differentiator, is the fact that we're not afraid to say, we don't want your money. We are invite only. And we actually vet before they are invited into the flavor room.
So I noticed that you're saying you're invite only, but why make it invite only? What brought you to that point where you say, you know what, we need to make it invite only? Because we have a lot of mindset around this whole invite only and exclusive and things like that. But to me, it sounds like you made it invite only for a very specific reason that's a little deeper between the two of you as to why you decided it should be invite only. Is there something personal behind that?
Absolutely. It came from personal experiences. As I mentioned, and Lace can chime in about her own personal experiences. But for me, it was being in spaces where I'm here, right? I'm here with the intention of meeting people and growing that relationship. And it wasn't like that on the other side. And I noticed it was because anybody, as I said, who had a pulse was able to come in, whether they had a business, whether they didn't have a business, whether they kind of thought they had a business, but it was really something that we're not going to say, you know, those kind of things. And that for me is frustrating, because it's hard to really have connections and really, you know, find a foundation in that place if everybody is kind of all over the place and there's nothing to bring it together, you know, just leaving everything to chance. So that's why I wanted to make it invite only, because a part of this is righting the wrongs that I have experienced in the past on my entrepreneurial journey. And that was one of the things. I would want a space where it's filtered, you know, people who really want to do the do are there.
Quality of the room matters. Quality of the people inside of a space matter. And when you have that quality, what comes out of that space is completely different to when it's just come one, come all, come anybody, come all the profiles and all the things, to when it's curated in that way. So that was really the part of the driving force of why make it invite only, because then we've got the quality, you know, it's a good box of chocolates.
Just a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get something good.
Exactly.
So, you know, that the online space with networking events always reminded me of a corporate meeting, especially because they had to do in-person ones. I've been to those, and they're doing icebreakers, and I'm like, I'm here to talk, to just mingle. I wanna just talk to some, I mean, we're face to face, man. I mean, how much better can that be? Zoom can't offer that. So, that being said, you've mostly been in the online space because obviously Sutton's in one place and Lace is in another. But that leads me to ask you, how did you two meet, and when did you realize this was something, you know, what made you realize this was something that you wanted to do for the business space, and why you think the business space truly needs this?
You want to
Well,
start?
how did we meet? I was floating around in the online space as I was back in the day, and Sutton was equally floating around, and I wanted to talk. I wanted to get on a podcast just like now. So I was like, hey, I want to talk. And Sutton popped up and said, hey, I've got a podcast, come and talk. So that was kind of how it started. So I went on her podcast. I was talking about subconscious programming and coffee, and it was all this massive, juicy rabbit hole that we went down. And that is essentially how we met. And we've just stayed in contact ever since then, and, you know, chatted and disappeared from each other and come back together, and here we are now. So that's how we met.
So I think it's interesting because Sutton and I did a podcast together, God, what, year or 2 ago? And, she asked me, "How did we meet?" 'Cause the other question was, "Do you think Facebook groups are necessary?" And I went, "No." She was like, "Whoa." And then she asked me, "Well, how did we meet?" I said, "I don't know, just wandering around networking online and being genuine and talking to one another, and you said you wanna be on my podcast?" I said, "Sure, you wanna be on mine?" I mean, it that's just how business takes place, right? So, you know, after experiencing that, I saw a lot more corporate structure inside of it and then being shifted over into Zoom. So, what problem did you both see over and over that pushed you to create the flavor room?
For me, it was not feeling included. And, I had tried to create like spaces before, and I was telling Lace this. There was one point, maybe I had like one or two people show up for like 2 months consistently. And it was those kinds of things where I knew that there's more to be had here. One of the things I hear all the time is that I'm lonely. I wish I had people to connect with. Well, how is it that entrepreneurs are feeling lonely and disconnected when there are hundreds, if not thousands, of entrepreneurial spaces? That means that there's a gap to be filled. And we believe that it is the community piece, not just saying it, as I said earlier, as a marketing angle, but really infusing community into that. And that starts with the foundation of values. The members need to have something that everybody's working towards, that shared value system where everybody has buy-in. And I think that's what's missing, because a lot of people are just creating spaces. Let's just get them in. We got a high churn rate. Let's throw in some dusty old videos and, have some Zooms and keep it going. But we're saying no, we're shifting the paradigm completely and starting with building the community based on standards, giving people a reason to stick around, not because of, benefits or perks, but because of what they feel. And I think we're beginning to see that a lot more in the online space and socially at large. People want to feel something again. And I think that is something that really was missing and that we've fulfilled. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say we have cracked the code on community.
Now, you did some market research before building all of this. What were some of the biggest gaps? Because you mentioned gaps. What were some of the biggest gaps you uncovered?
I would say, well, there's a lot. I mean, look at Lace. She's like, sign. One of them was cost versus actual value. That's something we've heard a lot. Like, okay, I'm paying X amount of dollars to be in here monthly. What am I getting? It's been months and I'm still not sure on what I'm getting. I mean, I'm going to meetings every week or whatever it is, but what's the return? So that was one of them. And another one was no communication, nothing to bring people together after the meetings. And then another one was leaving everything to chance, shoving everybody in a room. There's no structure, no intent, and just betting that people are just going to kind of figure it out on their own. Gatekeeping, lack of transparency, education, and resources. And it all kind of circles back to, the owner of that space or that person in particular kind of making it about them. Maybe not intentionally, maybe sometimes it is, but that's just kind of the mindset of the model. Instead of just saying, I really want to build this to help people, let me gather people in, hear what they want, and build that way.
So, when you say gatekeeping, because you hear that thrown around a lot, what do you think is gatekeeping?
Well, first of all, shameless plug, we actually have a whole series on the Fully Flavored Business podcast on gatekeeping. So y'all can definitely tune in onto that when it's out. Gatekeeping is reserving information or knowledge and not sharing it with everyone with the intent of keeping it to oneself.
So, here's a twist on that.
Mm.
This is how I combat the gatekeeping thing because I've been watching the online space. I've watched it grow. And what has happened is we had exponential growth during COVID. A lot of businesses got success. So it's not that we're gatekeeping the how to, it's not that. They'll sit there and tell you all you need to do is go out and do DMs and contact people in the DMs, for example, or all you need to do is this and this, and you'll sign people, right? And a lot of people who are pretty clever with that and already have that kind of talent, they do. They start booking people. And then you've got other people going, why isn't that working for me? Right? So for me, the gatekeeping is we have too much knowledge, but nobody's telling you what to do with it. And you can't tell somebody what to do with it unless they're sitting in front of you. That's why we have this misconception that everybody should be able to share all the info under the sun. But the fact of the matter is nobody asks you, for example, Lace, where in your business is it feeling heavy? Everybody's different. So that leads me to, the mission and the core values behind the flavor room. That's why I wanted to hear it because I that's what, with what Sutton defined it as, that's what a lot of people think it is. But for me, I think we have too much information and somebody's just not telling you what to do with it. And it's hard to do because everybody's got a different business model. But anyway, going back to the mission and core values behind the flavor room. What are the mission and core values behind the flavor room? Because you've hinted at, not being left out, things like that.
Yeah, that was just massive. I was like, whoa. Yeah, I think there is a lot of information out there. And I think one of the problems with that is that, like you said, not everyone is asking you where are you at in your business, and there isn't one size fits all. So one of the things that we are doing in the flavor and when we're sharing information and resources and education is we're not giving you a blueprint. We're not saying come in and follow da steps and then you're gonna make, £6 million in the next 6 minutes. No, we're not doing that. We give you resources, we give you information, we educate on the things that we know about, and we bring that everybody is allowed to come and do that as well. And it's take what works for you, apply this to yourself and how it feels good for you, not just do these things and expect the results. Do you know what I mean?
So
And I
that
think
makes
that
sense because you're creating that safe space to, I think a lot of the communities and networking places put that pressure on you to do the do. Like we're all here. Let's do our pitch now. Let's sit down and talk about I help Juju do whatever backflips off the side of a road so he can do reels. I mean, I just so we got to listen to all the pitches and all the stuff and everything, and then all of a sudden it's put your stuff into the chat. We don't know who we're offering up our information to. Really, we don't. There's people that regularly attend. So I like how you're taking on we're very specific about who we're looking for. And our mission is to work together to create collabs, to create real connections, whether that be a client or a collab, or simply you got some value and you know something to do in your business that can move you forward. But there is no coaching, correct? There's no coaching in this space. Right. So why isn't there any coaching?
wow, that's funny. A coach not coaching, right? Because that's not what this space is for. It's not about me. It's not about me filling my funnel. And it's not about Lace filling her funnel. So there was no need to put our services in the forefront. This is beyond just coaching. This is visionary. This is innovative. And I think that ties back to, our mission, which is to change the landscape of the entrepreneurial space for people, for entrepreneurs of color, or anyone who has just felt like they didn't fit in. So again, it's come as you are, and we all win. We're all going to rise together.
So I really like that. We're looking at Lace. We're going to put you under the microscope now. Your work through the Empire Kitchen fascinates me. Okay. You help entrepreneurs bring balance back by involving their family and making the kitchen part of that rhythm. It is about making sure that you are taking care of yourself and being healthy and involving your family
Your
is that,
family is for
kill two
help.
birds with one stone kind of aspect.
I love killing.
So now what's one thing someone can do today to start creating that balance, maybe by getting their kids involved or building routines that support their business without burning out?
If you want to start building routines in terms of cooking, get your pantry in order. There are certain things, go figure out all your favorite meals, know what they are, and then start making them at home. So you've got all those basics, the stock cubes, the rice, lots of chicken or whatever it is. Make sure you're stocked with those things so you don't get bored. Because I don't like meal planning to the point where it's like on Tuesday I'm eating this, on Wednesday I'm eating that. So what I do is I keep my favorite foods and all the things to make them in my kitchen. So any day I get up in the morning, and this is what you should do too, and decide what do I want to eat today? Fancy me some chicken. You don't even have to necessarily know what chicken dish, because you probably got a few that you like, but you also know you've got everything stocked. So by having your kitchen in order with the ingredients you need to make your favorite food is a great start. And then just have your kids, if you have them, come in and either watch if you're like, oh my God, mess, or just doing little things. Opening peas. This is something that Sutton had her son doing just yesterday, I think it was. It could be rinsing the vegetables, getting them out the fridge, just little things to start getting them involved and just build up slowly so it doesn't make you think, oh my gosh, I can't cope with the mess. Tiny little things, start today.
I mean, I noticed, some of the systems that I've created and that I help my clients with are most of it focuses on consistency and revenue, but little things seep in where when you start figuring out how to support yourself first instead of putting the business, the kids, everything else first, when you start figuring out how to support yourself first, you start seeing weight loss without trying, more energy, and also less pressure. Now, Sutton, my girl that I've known for quite some time,
What's up?
she's a fireball and she will say things you don't like, and that's what I love about her. So she's in leadership and business strategy. You're known for helping founders lead with clarity, especially around messaging, pricing, and confidence. What's one thing someone can do right now to start stepping into the leadership mindset they need to move forward in their business, especially if they've ever felt like they don't quite fit into the traditional business spaces?
First thing you can do is just go out and do the thing. This is an analogy I use with a lot of my clients, and that is of the clown car. All of your baggage, your trauma, your confidence issues with self worth, the mother wounds, everything. They can all get in the car, but they cannot drive. You have to be driving. So you can heal, you can do all of those things, you can work on your confidence while still doing the thing, even if it's small steps. We just need to get moving because that is the biggest thing I see is, oh, well, I'm not confident. So I need to go do something over in Canva so I can get confident. No, you need to go out and do the thing, whatever that is. If it's talking about your offer, if it's creating an offer, if it's going to an in-person event, getting on a podcast, whatever it is, you have to go out and do it because confidence and clarity comes with action.
I absolutely agree. Seth and I have kind of the same mindset around business, and the way that it needs to happen is through the business owner's mindset, not through the marketing and salesperson. Because when you can naturally talk about your business, you can do it with confidence and sound like you know what the hell you're talking about. I mean, that's the real thing. I see too much fluff and not enough. Who the hell are you talking to? And why should I care? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it sounds rude to ask it that way, but honest to God, your audience is doing the same thing. And you mentioned communication earlier. So, why do you think this is the right time for entrepreneurs to redefine how they show up and sell?
Well, because as we've talked about before, Leah, things are changing. Okay, go back to what worked before is not working now. The market is more discerning and they are expecting results, not wishy-washy fluff about, things that are not tangible. And we have some economic situations, global, that are also okay, that are also changing how people consume, how they buy, how they are determining their buying decisions. And if you want your business to be growing and thriving, it's time to communicate value very clearly. Why they need this, this is going to help them with whatever the pain is, and fixing that quickly, and also connecting to that emotionally, not in order to trigger them to buying in something that they don't need, but to connect with them on a deeper level so that they see this is what they're looking for. This is what they've been searching for. And I think that's missing, but I think we're coming to a point where a lot of those things are circling back. And I think you probably agree, Leah, this is just all back to basic marketing, going back old school, having a conversation with people. 100 years ago, if you wanted to sell some eggs, you would go communicate about your eggs and how these hens are great. It's now things are convoluted with, oh, you got to have this, you got to have this. No, you need to go talk about your thing. It's really as simple as that. People have had businesses since man has walked this earth. We've complicated things by adding all this other stuff into it. So
I think it is the rapid growth for the online space because we got inundated with a lot of knowledge, but nobody said, "Here's what you do with all that." But one of the things that I'm seeing is in how people buy. So, and connect and collaborate with people in the online space. What are some of those changes that you're starting to see? Because you're starting to create some of that change, Lace. You both mentioned that what used to work is not working anymore. But when we're talking about how people are buying right now, we have AI out there. We have all these tech tools out there taking the place, I think, of many opportunities to connect personally with somebody. But what are you seeing about how people in relationship to that sort of thing, how they buy? What's changing with all of the tech that we have out there?
I think people are looking for real people. I think they're looking for a real connection, and not necessarily someone to relate to per se, but someone who is not trying to blow smoke up their behind. Because I think on a grander scale, people have had enough of that. And we're seeing that in other spaces other than business, that people have had enough with the crap. So I think that is changing it. And someone who understands what they're going through and makes that very clear. So I think that's taking it. I think people are also very suspicious with AI. So I think if someone is using certain aspects of AI in their business and it's like, obvious, I think that gives some people.
Yeah, I think people want trust. And they want people they can trust, people they can buy from that they trust. Because there's a whole lot of people out there for a very long time just been selling you bullshit, and they're shady as fuck. You know what I mean? They're looking for people that they can trust, people that are real.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. But, I also think that there's some abuse use of bots and schedulers, and the focus has been use this tech tool and you can grow a business. No, it's a tool. So that being said, let's go back to the flavor room because we mentioned some things. We talked about a huge event and they've been waiting. The audience has been waiting patiently. So let's dig a little deeper into the flavor room. You've built a space where collaboration and connection actually lead to results. What kinds of conversations or projects are happening inside that you just don't see elsewhere that you'd like for the audience to really know about before asking for an invite or before going in and seeing what it's all about?
Go ahead.
I think one of the ones I really want to mention is something that happened recently is inside of the flavor room, one of our members has a brilliant business and said, "Hey, I'm running an annual event and I would love some of you guys to be sponsors of this event. Come give away some stuff, and that's going to put, you guys on the map with my clients and might even get you some clients." I've never seen that anywhere else. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm down. I'm down. So me, Sutton, and another member went along to support. So we got invited to this and we gave away some stuff. We got some clients, and the guy who invited us, yes, we have men in the flavor room. got some kickbacks from that as well. So you can see the ecosystem is actually ecosysteming. And I don't see this happening in many spaces at all.
I think that's incredible because I was listening to it and I was like, that is one of the foundations of marketing and sales. Because if you really think about it in real life, like with the radio station, we would have a huge event in the middle of town and all the vendors could come and sell their stuff and make connections with people while we were giving away a big old truck. It's essentially the same thing. It's just done from a different perspective, from a different way, from a more business way, business to business versus business to community. I think that's beautiful how he transferred that.
I was just going to say, that's what we're going to get back to. Instead of, okay, well, I may do this, but what's in it for me? How does this help me? And saying, you know what, this makes sense business wise. Let's go. Because you and I, we're partners, we're collaborators. I'm going to help you. And we're going forward in that way. And mind you, Leah, we didn't even come in selling anything, for the flavor room. We just showed up to support. And look what happened. So I think that's something else that's really important because there's this mindset online that every day, let's get those sales. And it's just, hunting everywhere you can go. And that puts people off and it also leads to burnout because you're just in this cycle of, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Instead of going back to what we've talked about before, which is service. How can I show up and serve each and every day? And when you come with that, the sales are a byproduct. The referrals are a byproduct because people will see you're not out for their coin. They'll gladly give it over to you. And that goes back to the trust as well.
I think that's something that when you and I first met, and I believe it was either on my podcast or yours, and I said something, and you said, the sale just happens. Well, either one of you can take this one up or both of you. How does being around people who get it, and let's get into what you mean by get it too, who get it, because, there is an elephant in the room. You are women of color, Black ladies of business. And you do talking about marginalized groups and you've done some research too. So how does being around people who get it, people who actually talk business, not just talk to be talking, but change the game for entrepreneurs? Because I know Sutton has had to deal with some things online. She has had people come up in her DMs and start all kinds of shit with her, which good luck to them. But let me know, how's this changed the game for entrepreneurs?
I think the first thing is it's not as lonely. I mean, you're always kind of going to be on your own trajectory, but I think being around people who understand where you are, it's different talking to friends or family about your business. They're always going to cheer you on or whatever. But people who are on their journey as well, who can say, hey, I've been through that. Or they can look at you and be like, no, I haven't been through that, but I'm glad you shared that with me. It's a relief. It's a relief that, first of all, you're not crazy. You don't have mindset blocks. It's not your beliefs that there are things that happen that other people experience. Because I think a lot of times we're in this silo by ourselves, especially if you are a woman who is high achieving and all those nice labels that they like to give us. A lot of times you suffer in silence. And, there's men that suffer in silence too. And we've found that in the flavor room as well, where you think you're just the one having these experiences. And it's not. And I think that is something huge. And what it also does is from that relief, there is a release. And then that sense of inspiration that we're moving forward now together.
It does feel like that the space, especially during COVID, and now we have the spillover after COVID, where people became more combative and competitive. And I know it's a competitive space. Business is competitive. Come on, me and Sutton are competing. Me and Lace are competing. But we also serve people in a specific way. And I think that's when the confidence comes in. Is when you can look at somebody. I've collaborated with business people since day one. And when I first started trying to work from home and all that kind of stuff. And what I notice is successful business people will say, well, no, that's not something that I cover. But this guy over here can help you out. And that's how I started building my community and collaborating with people. Now you've got this huge event coming up in February. It's a celebration that's tied to your market research release, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about a little sneak peek and what people can expect?
Yes, 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 yes. We do have an event in February on the 6th and 7th of February, and we did some market research to find out what's really going on in the online business space. And we asked the questions that nobody else wanted to ask. So we have over 24 hours of interview footage with entrepreneurs of color, all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of businesses, and we collected data on marketing, sales, ethics, all the things. And let me tell you, that was some juicy stuff that came out, like real juicy. And it's the stuff that nobody is talking about. So we're going to not only be presenting what we found, but if you kind of come along to this event, it's an experience. It is virtual, but we are not going to be on Zoom just talking at you. We've decided that we wanted to make this event something completely different that the online space has never seen before, and we're breaking all of the rules. So there is going to be discussion, there is going to be spoken word, there is going to be arts, performing arts, there's going to be song, there's going to be all kinds of things, so you can really feel like the culture of the people who are part of this. And we're going to be presenting our findings through that. And we're not just stopping there, because we don't just sit around going, this is a problem and that is a problem and this is a problem and you're a problem. And no, we know there's problems. We all know that. We've really dug deep into those, but we're also going to be presenting what we feel is the solution, which is actually going to be a certification as well. So super, super exciting. Sutton, anything you want to add?
Yes, thank you, Lace, for that. I wanted to add that not only do we have 24 hours of research, we understand as women of color, if we were to just say, oh, we interviewed, 24 people or whatever, and we have this anecdotal stuff, that's how it would be presented. But that's why we've also done the academic research as well, to really get into the statistics from entities such as Rand Corporation. What is going on in the digital economy, as it were, when it comes to entrepreneurs of color, when it comes to race, class, gender, inequality. So we're killing two birds with one stone here. We have the academic research, but we also have the anecdotal interviews as well as personal stories from entrepreneurs of various backgrounds. So really excited for this. And we know it's going to ruffle some feathers, but it's something that needs to be done because for too long, the online space has been the wild, wild west. And there's proof of that because it was very interesting trying to find data on the online business space. It's funny how this is a multi-trillion dollar, industry, but the research is scat. So yeah.
So I think that the research is almost non-existent is because honestly, the online space from a business point of view, from growing a business point of view, is young. It's young. And we don't have enough people standing back and saying, hey, you know what? Why don't we research what we're doing? Let's see, where the hell are we going? I mean, we started out with a lot of people being very willing to talk about how they made money online. They had no problem sharing those bits and pieces of information, none at all. To suddenly now we're politicians in marketing and sales. We say a lot of shit, but we don't really give you anything. It's like nothing really happens. You're always sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for that, very special thing. So most of the people listening or viewing the Making Business Effortless podcast here on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe and ding the bell, are working toward consistent 5-figure months. Now they're doing the work, but consistency feels just out of reach. What would you say about the role connection plays in that?
I think connection is, I would say, more important than your sales and marketing. It has to be a connection with whoever it is that you are trying to serve. And I would even go further to say also connection with your own self, you know, uh, what you are doing, your values, and letting that come through instead of trying to keep yourself in a box saying, oh, well, everyone said I should be doing business this way, so let me do it this way. Everyone said I should be marketing, selling this way, so let me do it this way. So connecting with yourself and what you're here to do, but connecting with those whom you're here to serve through communication, through interaction, through listening, doing more listening than speaking.
I think it's beautiful what you're doing here, but let's get back to you. And what's one thing that they can do right now to start finding or even building a community that actually fuels their business?
Find the gaps, because people say first, I want to have a community. And then they pile all these people into, whatever platform of you're choosing. And it's like, okay, well, now what we do? We sell. You got to sell them stuff. No, what is the purpose of the community? Before you want to get people together, why are you doing it? What is the end result? And then don't be so quick to think about, well, how can I make money off of this? You listen, you observe. And if you're doing those things, you'll figure out what you need to do. Just like for us, as example, we started the flavor room, gathered people in, we're listening. And from that listening, we're creating, not creating from a space of just to creating based on what we hear and what we observe the needs are. And because of that, we're getting feedback like, this service is phenomenal. I needed this space. And now our members are starting to do the marketing for us, which is a dream for any business owner. When people have drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and there's buy-in, right? They're your biggest advocates. They're the ones that are going to build the trust for you. Because it's easy for, the business owner to say, yeah, my stuff is great. But having people who've experienced your service or your product being advocates for it, there's no greater marketing than that. So if you're going to build community, start with the purpose of it. Start with the why before even gathering people together.
So you have an event coming up, right? Before we wrap up, you all have that special announcement for February. So tell us again what's happening and how people can be a part of it.
So it's the Flavor Room Experience, the legit era of business. And it is 6 and 7 October. And the people who want to be involved are business owners, leaders, anyone who cares about doing business differently, anyone who is tired of, the same old, where we're just kind of knowing that something is not right and just kind of kicking the can down the road. Those who really care about equity in business, who really care about everybody having the opportunity for the abundance of opportunities that are out there in the online space. And anyone who is tired of boring events, because we're amazing. The Flavor Room is amazing. Like, y'all have seen us here, so you already know it's going to be lit when you walk up in there. It's called the Flavor Room. So if you like spoken word, if you like music, if you like art, if you have seen Coming to America and you just have this vision in your head, then you need to come. Okay. And all the details will be will be in whatever Leah creates up, and it's going to be amazing. So we would really love to have all of you. And it's free. So why not?
There's that too. Sudden getting all kind of confident up in here. She's going gangster on us. So I love it, Sutton. Lace, thank you so much for sharing this. Not just the event, but the bigger message of what real connection and leadership looks like in business. For everyone listening, all of their links and details are down there in the description, along with a link to find out more about my services and how you can work with me or Sutton or Lace. And if you're ready to keep growing your business without the chaos, check out the next video YouTube recommends for you.